Picture this: you wake up, scroll through the news, and suddenly every financial headline is pointing straight at Iraq. Something major could be brewing inside their monetary system, and investors across the globe are glued to their screens right now. Online communities are exploding with chatter, and thousands of Iraqi dinar holders are all asking the exact same burning question. Are we finally witnessing genuine signals that the IQD exchange rate could be on the verge of a shift? Today we are going deep into the freshest developments tied to Iraq's central bank, the economic indicators flowing out of Baghdad, and what all of these moves could actually mean for anyone tracking the Iraqi dinar closely. So let us jump right into it. Whenever the topic of the Iraqi dinar potentially shifting in value comes up, nearly every conversation circles back to one powerful institution, the Central Bank of Iraq. This is the body that dictates monetary policy, controls how much currency flows through the system, and maintains exchange rate order. So when sharp-eyed analysts detect unusual patterns, policy tweaks, or fresh financial signals emerging from the central bank, the entire dinar-watching world immediately perks up. And over these last several days, a handful of developments have genuinely grabbed attention. Financial watchers have picked up on a surge in internal discussions around monetary reform happening within Iraq's top economic circles. Reports indicate that Iraqi financial authorities have been laser-focused on fortifying the nation's banking framework, expanding electronic payment platforms, and cracking down harder on currency regulation. Now you might wonder why any of that matters. Well, historically, nations that are gearing up for significant monetary adjustments almost always start by solidifying their banking systems. First, think of it this way. If a currency were ever going to undergo a major value chain, the entire financial apparatus of that country would need to smoothly handle massive capital flows, exchange operations, and cross-border settlements. Without a robust banking backbone, that kind of transition would spiral into absolute disorder. And that is precisely why so many investors pay extremely close attention whenever Iraq accelerates modernization within its banking sector. Just recently, Iraq has ramped up digital payment integration, government wages, social benefit disbursements, and even a growing number of retail purchases are shifting over to electronic channels instead of physical cash. Officials explain that this combats corruption and boosts financial transparency. But within dinar circles, some believe this could also be a component of a much larger long-term monetary reform blueprint. Another signal generating heavy discussion involves currency stabilization initiatives. The Central Bank of Iraq has devoted considerable energy over the past year to defending the official exchange rate against black market pressures by fine-tuning currency auctions, enforcing stricter compliance standards, and partnering with international banking entities. Iraq has been working to shrink the divide between the official rate and the street rate. Why does that carry weight? Because for any nation contemplating serious currency reform, exchange rate steadiness is absolutely essential. If a currency is swinging wildly or being heavily manipulated in unofficial markets, pulling off broader monetary changes becomes nearly impossible. Locking down the exchange rate first builds confidence both inside the country and on the international stage. Now here is where it starts to get really compelling. Some analysts think these recent tightening measures could signal that Iraq is actively working to bring its currency framework in line with global standards. Over the past several years, Iraq has collaborated with worldwide financial bodies to strengthen anti-money laundering protocols, banking openness, and currency oversight systems. These are exactly the kinds of steps typically required before a country can achieve deeper participation in international financial markets. Another critical piece of this puzzle is Iraq's expanding oil income. Iraq stands as one of the planet's leading oil producers, and petroleum exports generate the overwhelming majority of national revenue. When oil prices hold at relatively healthy levels, Iraq's government coffers swell considerably. That hands the country far greater financial room to back economic reforms, fund infrastructure projects, and reinforce currency stability. Some dinar observers argue that stronger oil earnings fortify the groundwork for potential future monetary adjustments. The reasoning is straightforward: higher revenue builds up national reserves, and beefier reserves arm the central bank with more instruments to manage the currency. While none of this guarantees some overnight rate explosion, it undeniably strengthens the economic bedrock underneath the dinar. At the same time, keeping a realistic perspective is absolutely critical. All kinds of rumors bounce around the internet, claiming the dinar could skyrocket to absurdly high values in the blink of an eye. But genuine currency reforms almost never unfold in such explosive fashion. In the vast majority of cases, governments implement gradual measured steps, across extended timelines, carefully calibrating policies, while safeguarding overall economic stability. Still, that does not mean the signals radiating from Iraq deserve to be brushed aside. Financial reforms, banking upgrades, and currency stabilization campaigns all point to a nation actively trying to reinforce its economic machinery. And whenever a country fortifies its financial foundation, investors around the world naturally begin scrutinizing its currency with sharper focus. Another element worth highlighting is Iraq's determined push to diversify its economy. For decades, the country has leaned almost entirely on oil exports, but Iraqi leaders have repeatedly declared their intention to cultivate other sectors, including agriculture, manufacturing, tourism, and technology. A broader, more varied economy generally underpins a more resilient national currency. There are also active conversations within Iraq about enhancing trade partnerships with neighboring nations and attracting greater international investment. As foreign companies step into the Iraqi marketplace, financial clarity and currency dependability become even more paramount. Global investors demand predictable exchange mechanisms and trustworthy banking networks before deploying serious capital. This is exactly why certain economists suspect Iraq is methodically positioning itself for deeper integration into the worldwide financial order. That process can stretch across years, but every stride toward modernization adds another brick of stability to the structure. Meanwhile, Dinar watchers worldwide keep dissecting every single update emerging from Baghdad. Some people zero in on parliamentary debates about economic overhauls, others monitor central bank proclamations, banking rule changes, or international cooperation agreements. Each incremental development gets scrutinized as possible evidence of a grander financial evolution. But here is the essential truth: to internalize signals do not automatically translate into immediate action. Economic reforms frequently advance quietly behind closed doors. Governments may build out systems, trial run policies, and coordinate extensively with global institutions well before any public monetary shifts materialize. That is why seasoned observers concentrate on long-range patterns, instead of chasing short-lived rumors. When multiple reform tracks begin converging simultaneously, banking modernization, exchange rate stabilization, growing reserves, and economic diversification, it can strongly suggest that a country is reinforcing its entire monetary architecture. For Iraqi dinar holders, the wisest strategy is remaining well-informed while anchoring expectations firmly in verifiable economic realities, tracking official statements from the Central Bank of Iraq, keeping tabs on reform progress, and consuming credible financial analysis will paint a far more accurate picture than depending on internet guesswork. Right now, the single biggest conclusion from today's breakdown is that Iraq keeps pressing forward with financial reforms, whether those reforms ultimately culminate in currency adjustments is something that only the passage of time and official policy decisions will answer. But the continuing modernization of Iraq's banking system and financial infrastructure is absolutely something that deserves close attention. And as always, developments across the broader Middle East can reshape economic timelines, political stability, regional dynamics, and global energy markets all factor into Iraq's financial calculus. Currency policy never exists in a vacuum. It is woven into the wider economic and geopolitical landscape. So while rumors about sudden dramatic rate changes will undoubtedly keep bouncing around online, the authentic story here is Iraq's persistent, methodical effort to reconstruct and modernize its financial system after enduring years of severe economic hardship. Brick by brick, the country appears to be reinforcing the very institutions that support its currency. For dinar followers spread across the globe, patience and solid information remain the most powerful assets in your toolkit. Staying current on genuine economic signals helps you cut through the noise and distinguish meaningful progress from empty speculation. And if today's indicators tell us anything at all, it is that Iraq's financial transformation is very much still in motion. Whether it eventually drives major currency changes down the road remains an open question. But the foundation being constructed right now could very well define the trajectory of the Iraqi dinar for many years ahead. Let me know down in the comments, what is your take? Do you think these central bank signals are genuinely pointing toward a future shift in the IQD rate? Or do you believe we are still navigating the early chapters of Iraq's financial reconstruction? Your perspectives and analysis always add tremendous value to this conversation.